Hi, and welcome to a small, medium, at large podcast. I'm your host, Gail Heisen, bringing you intimate interviews beyond normal boundaries. I want to thank my son Richard and my daughter Nancy for producing and posting my show, which otherwise I would never be able to get out there on in the social media, and I'm so grateful for the work that they do for me. I also want to thank my husband for helping to do the descriptions. And I also want to thank all you listeners and some of the fans that we have. I'm just so thrilled to have people in Bulgaria, Israel, England, Australia, and just touching people in places all around, whether it's on Spotify or Google Podcast or Apple Podcast or YouTube. So I want to thank you for commenting, liking, sharing, subscribing, and being with us on this wonderful journey of sharing our stories. So let me tell you about our special guests today. Today we have two guests today, Rocio Aquino and Angel Orengo, who are the co-founders of For the Highest Good, a company dedicated to creating transformative narratives that inspire personal growth and empowerment. Together, they blend their vast professional and global experience to design projects that foster conscious leadership and a more authentic way of living. Rocio, born in Mexico City and now based in Los Angeles, has built a distinguished career in media and advertising sales, working with renowned companies such as Time Magazine, TV Azteca, Nickelodeon, Sony Pictures Entertainment, and A&E Mundo. Her career and life journey have taken her to cities like Miami, Hong Kong, London, shaping her talent for connecting people, ideas, and opportunities. Angel, originally from Puerto Rico and a graduate of Cornell University, had a successful career at Sony Pictures Entertainment, where he led content distribution teams across Latin America, Asia Pacific, and Europe. With experience spanning over 65 countries, Angel has merged his corporate leadership with a profound journey of self-discovery and purpose. Both firmly believe that inner well-being is the foundation for prosperity in all aspects of life, including business. They advocate that when a person is in harmony with themselves, their professional endeavors flow more authentically and productively, leading to sustainable and meaningful results. Their new novel, The Orchid, The Secret Code of Modern Goddesses, invites readers to discover their inner power and find balance in their lives. It serves as a reminder that self-love, gratitude, and inner clarity are the keys to achieving success in all areas of life. The Orchid Retreat is set in secluded Northern California, where 5 women begin a journey back to themselves. Guided through 5 transformational phases: awareness, gratitude, forgiveness, acceptance, and intention, they rediscover love, truth, and inner strength. If you're ready to heal, grow, and step into your inner power and self-love, this story was written for you. It is a novel that feels like a healing retreat for your soul. So let's welcome Rocio and Angel here today. Hi, and welcome.
Hi, Gail. Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you for having us.
It's wonderful to have you. And I'm going to ask you my first question that I would like both of you to answer. After that, any other questions, however you like to answer, both, one or the other, is all up to you. But these are both personal.
Sounds good.
And it's a question I ask every one of my guests when you're on my show the first time. My question is, and this is kind of a two-part sort of, what can you tell me about your childhood and growing up in Puerto Rico and Mexico? And as a child, were you drawn to spiritual things? And was your family on a spiritual path? Or did you find this journey of healing later in life toward your highest good? And was there a pivotal moment that steered you in this direction? So it's a one and a one.
Gail, thank you again for having us. It's a wonderful question, and I think the answer is no. There wasn't there wasn't a sense that spirituality was a part of my upbringing. And I say a sense because, well, now we know, now I know that is a part of our upbringing from the day we're born, right?
Yes.
And even from before, but not really. I came from a very humble family. We were challenged in every way, from relationships to economics. And all I remember growing up is that there was a lot of love.
Oh,
The,
great.
the adults tried their best. Even if they fell short, they were trying their best. And and I was close to nature. So there was a lot of nature involved, but it wasn't along my growth and experience. There was sexual abuse in my case.
Mm.
I must have been 9, 10, or 11 years old. There was a lot of divorce. There were other things that happened. There was a lot of pain in the family. And it wasn't until years later, when I was living alone as a 20-something-year-old person, already in Miami, Florida, in fact, where I read a few books, Conversations with God, The Celestine Prophecy, and maybe The Alchemist, I think was the third, that something happened. And I went from partying all night to wanting to go to bed early in the evenings because I wanted to get up early and go to the ocean and sit by the ocean. And I didn't know at the time, but to meditate. In my case, at that time, it was really, I just needed to speak to the ocean.
Mm.
And that created something. It created a transformation. It created a space that later on became where I am now. Now I can see that. At that time, I didn't. But that was really when I first, if I can point back, when I first really came face to face with spirituality.
And did you have like my family raised us atheists, but our background was a Jewish background. So
Mm.
were you raised with like a Catholic background, or was there a lot of religion pushed into you, or was there none of that?
There were a couple of religions that were part of my upbringing. One was Catholic,
Mm-hmm.
and the other one was Seventh-day Adventists.
Oh, yes.
And both, I think, but especially Seventh-day Adventist, because I was a bit older at the time. Catholicism was towards my earlier years in childhood, where I really, I mean, I used to read the Bible. I would step up in the podium on certain evenings and preach, so to speak, to the young audiences.
Mm-hmm.
So it really was an important part of my upbringing that later on I also learned to appreciate as having formed a part, even though at that time I didn't have the awareness to consider it's part of my spiritual growth.
It was happening, you just hadn't seen it yet.
That's right. The knowing really came at my, I don't know, 28, 29 when I was in Florida. But certainly all of those, even, all of the experiences that I'm not so fond of, growing up, now I can see how they all contributed to who I am and where I was
Yes.
heading.
And I'm not a big I don't know a whole lot about astrology specifically or anything, but 28 and 29 or 27, but in that area, but 28 specifically, is when the Saturn midheaven returns in your astrological chart. It does this for everyone. And
Mm,
that's when we see those times of growth and change, because that's when we seek. And if you look back, I mean, didn't know this either. And I look back and say, oh yeah, I was doing that at 28, or that's when those things were stimulating. So it seems like you were right on the line there.
yeah, for sure. For sure.
And how about you?
Oh my God. For me, I grew up in a family that they were atheists, but we grew up in Mexico. So when you are in Mexico, you are around the Catholics. And what that means, that you're gonna go to a Baptist, you're gonna do your first communion, you're gonna do all the things because it's the normal thing to do, like society is like you follow those paths.
Yes.
So at one point, when I was a child, uh, I was singing in the chorus of the church, and I used to love. But for a weird reason, I never was able to do the first communion. For example, my parents get divorced, So at one point I went to study, but really a study, but not really like a going and understanding God. For me, when I was a child and I saw people going to confess and then say the commandments, and then I saw people lie. And at that point, I was like, this is not normal. This is not okay. So I saw a lot of incongruency about what they say, how they act, and then the society to do. So at that point, and for example, my father, at one point, he was telling to my brothers, be careful of the priest. Okay, was something that in a little town is like you need to be careful for the priest. Of course, he didn't say that to me, but he was saying to my brothers. So all those things were there around me. So, but at one point, I was not going to church in general, but my mother was a huge figure in my life. So she get divorced of my father, and then we go and live with her. But she passed away when she was 48 and I was 20. And in that moment, her energy became present to me and was like a love energy that was guiding me in a very difficult moment because I tried to kill myself and I was abused and sexually abused. And then all these things happened that at one point I was not 100% sure of spirituality, but I was more in survival. Like you
Yes.
begin to, whatever works, and in my case was one step at the time. So really, it's true what you are saying, because at 28 was the first time that I was talking, like a profound talking to the universe, asking for a fantastic man and how I can get a relationship and all these things. And funny enough, after, I don't know, probably 6 months, I met him.
That's
So,
what
and that was like the beginning of several breadcrumbs that the universe dropped for me to going to discover. And now I can see them super clearly, how this path was, I was always protect. The universe loved me. And how I didn't understand deeply until yesterday. You see, it's like, wow, this is
Yeah.
incredible. But I see now how is with everyone and how my kids are living from that place already. And it's incredible. That's why I want to invite everyone to the party, because it's like it's possible, even though that people like me who they were off, for example, the path, doesn't matter, you can find it, and then continue to live your life in harmony.
I want to tell you that the two of you are not alone. I join you in, having been raped, abused, beaten, and other low self-esteem experiences that led to feeling like I was a worthless person and there was no reason to live. So
Yeah.
I completely understand that the three of us have had traumas that other people look at and say, "Oh God, how did you survive that?" Instead, that was part of the healing process.
Totally.
Yes.
And I feel that that's what your book is saying, but we'll go into the book after we finish our personal life here. But
Yes.
so go on. So then at 28, the two of you met each other and you've been together ever since.
Yes, 25 years.
It all began with a job interview where I met her, and our first love was professional. All of a sudden, we were working together, and we would give presentations as people who had been working together for decades. It was unexplainable. And later, that turned into love. And here we are. We had two wonderful daughters a few years after getting married. We, my career, because she exited the company once we were public, and my career then continued, and that's how we got to places like Miami, where our girls were born. Then we lived in Hong Kong for 6 years. We lived in
Oh,
London for nearly 5 years. And now we are in LA, in Los Angeles, where we've lived for nearly 6 years. And it's been absolutely wonderful.
well, it's just it's a beautiful story, and you're sharing, from this beginning to what's happened now. So that's inspiring for other people who may be feeling depressed or feeling at loss right now. That is this man going to come, or is this woman going to appear, or is this job going to happen? And well, the positivityness is such an important part of attaining that. So I want to move on a little bit here now. So now we know here how you've got, unless there's anything else you want to say about,
No,
okay.
nothing.
So uh my show is about storytelling and sharing your stories because I believe that stories can heal. So tell me how you feel about storytelling and its purpose, and what was it that led you to write The Orchid, and why did you choose to do it as a novel?
Oof, it's a beautiful, beautiful question. So in my case, what was the tipping point for me to really go in this was forgiveness, the importance to know how you forgive. The 1, 2, 3, 4, the steps, because I was asking people, and in general, they don't know how to forgive. So after a huge process that I was experimenting, in that moment was, we need to share this to the world. So because we were in TV, was a normal thing for us to think, okay, let's do a TV show for more people to see. Because, Gail, at the end, I was thinking of myself, of my mother, who we didn't have in the darkest moments, we didn't have tools to really navigate those dark moments. So it's how we can send this message all the way, the fastest way possible is TV.
Yes.
So let's do a TV show. And
Well, I think I would mention too, when we were traveling throughout the world, we went in many places. So I'll give you an example. We were camping in the remote areas of Mongolia. And
Really? I've presented there twice at two conferences.
oh,
I was initiated as a Mongolian Buryat shaman in 2011,
oh, darling.
and I received a Medal of Honor from the university and an honorary PhD from the University of Mongolia. And I
wow.
have a deep attachment,
Ah,
very deep closeness. I just sent a blanket to Mongolia a couple of days ago. So it's a long-term, my Mongolian friends and my Huichol friends, a very long-term thing. So I met them in 2005. So we've been together, the Mongolians, for almost 20 years now. I
what a
can't
what
believe
a
you
See?
mentioned that. I'm just saying,
You
I'm
see?
supposed to be an interview, but I always end up running off on some tangent of one of
No,
my
the
stories.
connections is the connections. That's why it's so important, these conversations.
yes.
Okay.
And we were, after 6 hours of driving in one direction and not seeing anything or anyone,
Yes.
all of a sudden we get to these Mongolian tents, and there is a television and a satellite dish in the middle of nowhere. And of course, they're watching Hollywood movies.
Uh-huh.
And it's when you realize the power that storytelling has to transcend cultures and distances and geography. And so when Rocio comes to me and says, let's do a television show, because Gail, we were going through such a process of introspection where we would come out of our classes and our courses and our sessions and we would look at each other and we would ask each other, are you feeling what I'm feeling? Because it was unbelievable that we felt so pure, so light, so
So
changed,
connected.
so connected. And she would say yes, and I would say, yes, I know. And so when she says, let's do a television show, the first thing that came to my mind and I blurted out was, yeah, yes, but I don't think it's the time to do a television show. First, we need to do a book. And somehow, very quickly, the conclusion was, and it's not a book about us, it's a book about stories, because human beings have been listening to stories for thousands and thousands of years, and that's the way we communicate. And if we're
Yes.
able to do a story that changes one life, that would just have been worth it already. But if
Oh
we
my
do
God,
a
you're quoting me. And and behind me, I don't know, you can't see it, but is a large print from the Ulaanbaatar uh,
Oof.
newspaper of me presenting the Huichol peyote ceremony to the Mongolian people. And
wow,
my photos are in the Mongolian newspaper of the Huichol peyote ceremony. And I brought clothing and I dressed up one of the Mongolians in Huichol clothing. Because when I gave my first talk there, I realized the language barrier thing and the translator, it just did not, I bombed. And I had never
of
bombed in
course,
any of my talks before. So when I went back the next one to do, I said, no, I'm going to bring items and things and be able to express with pictures and music and like that. And they all got it. And it was a wonderful thing to share a culture from Mexico to
of
this
course.
culture of Mongolians in a ger in the top of a mountain somewhere. Sorry, I had to tell you
Yeah,
No,
that.
no
you
worries.
see the power of stories.
And by the way, that's what happened to us when we were traveling. We saw other cultures in other cultures. And so that made us realize that the world is a very small place, that we have so much in common, and that we speak the same language. We really do speak the same language,
It's the language of the heart.
the language of the heart.
Yes.
And so when we set out, it really just made a lot of sense that this book had to be about storytelling. And then we added one more thing to that, which was we believe very wholeheartedly in the saying that says life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react. And so we somehow embedded that. I don't know, sometimes it's without knowing, really there was a lot of inspiration, divine inspiration in the book. And so we made the book, about 10% of it, it's what happens to these amazing women. And 90% is what they're going to experience in this magical place called the Orchid, as to how to get out of where they are to realize that they are powerful beyond belief.
I I felt like I was back at, because when I read a book, I have to read it from the beginning to the end. Yours took me 2.5 days because it was a little longer and we had some different things that interrupted me. But I like to immerse myself where I'm one with the book. With reading your book, I was thrown back to all the work I had done over the years to be in the place that I am right now, which is like the both of you healed from those things that we were dealt with as younger people or whenever the things happened. And I'm listening. I forgot how I had done Watsu, and I'm reading you describe this, and I just had to close my eyes, and I couldn't even remember who I was with or what retreat I was on, but I remembered the powerful feeling of what it was like to be in the womb again, weightless in water. And when you're describing the character is saying what's happening to her in the book, I'm like, oh my God, I'm back in that place. And I love the trigger of that. I forgot I had done that, because it was 30 years ago or whatever. I mean, it just,
Wow. Oh,
And the other ones, I'm reading each one and I'm going, I've done every single exercise these women are doing at this retreat. And it
Mm.
was all coming back. And also the healing power of something as simple as you writing how the women had to look at themselves in a mirror and say, I love you to themselves. It was all things that I've been actually working with myself with lately on ridding any of the crazy low esteem voice that pops back up that you really don't does not serve you, but yet
yes,
they seem to creep up again every now and then. So your
yes.
book was like putting me back to that place of where I'd originally healed these things. So anyway, I said to my husband was there. I said, I can't talk to you right now. I'm at a retreat, you know. And it also made me long for that feeling because it's only when you go to these retreats and you step out of your, I mean, it's nice to say that you can do these things in your homes, which you can, but these retreats offer a powerful shot that, and all I kept thinking was, maybe these ones she's describing in the book exists, but the ones that I was at, I was sleeping on a mattress on the floor by a refrigerator and rats were running through there while Ram Dass was doing his 10 days of us on spiritual care of the living and dying. And you shouldn't be upset if a rat runs by, you know? And I'm reading this beautiful places in this book, and I'm thinking, could you imagine being on retreat and being in such an amazing environment? And then when I looked at the map in your book of how it's all laid out, and I live on 15 acres here in Northern California in the country, and I've been waiting for my Mongolian gear to come. I have one that a Mongolian that I'm arranging it with, and I have all these different things on my property because we've had numerous ceremonies here over these 48 years that I've lived here. And I'm looking at the map and I'm thinking, wow, she drew a map for me and everything. So I just want to say fiction, nonfiction. It was very real for me reading these retreats. So I shouldn't interrupt anymore. I'm sorry.
No, on the contrary, we are humbled and delighted and honored for your
I,
comments.
well, in fact, there's a couple of quotes that I want to repeat at the end that I wrote down. I think two different quotes that I just thought's very important for our listeners to hear when we sign off at the end of the show. So I'm going to get off my talks about, how the book has affected me. But what I would love to do is have you share and explain to our listeners something very important in your book, which is the 5 pillars of transformation and what they mean, and also what the importance of self-investment emotionally, spiritually, and financially means. And this is information that we all need to hear. I'm looking forward to hearing it as well.
Yes, yes, it's so important. That's what we want to do in the book through the characters is for when you are reading it, if you never been in a retreat, is begins to ignite your imagination because when you begin to think about it, you begin to create it. So the inspiration is like a go and see and live with them the transformation because that is going to give you inspiration for you to begin to really take wherever you need in that moment because every persons are in different stage. So it's very important that at the end we don't compare ourselves to anyone, but we understand that everyone is in the path. And then when you begin to see that, it's like, okay, I'm not alone. I'm okay where I am.
I'm safe.
I'm safe. Love surrounds me. And I can go inside of myself to really look and bring love, light, harmony to all your body. So the 5 lessons are
So when we put together the curriculum, if you will, for the Orchid, it was based on what we were experiencing and the tools that we found had really transformed us. And there are 5. The first one was becoming aware, so awareness. And it was the best way to summarize it is when we became aware of what we were thinking and the why behind we were thinking it. Where does it come from? Whose idea was that? Is it mine or was it my mom's or her mother's? And becoming aware of how you think, how you talk, how you feel, and how you act, and the congruency or lack thereof of those points of energy in yourself. So that was awareness, the ability to look at yourself in third dimension as if you're looking at the play of your life, observing yourself. Then, once you have that first experience of awareness, then the big question becomes, do you like what you see? And if you do like it, by all means, continue enjoying every piece of it. And if you don't, then ask yourself one more question. Do you want to change it? Because if you want to change it, there are ways to do that. And if the answer is yes, I want to change, then you go on to the next stage, which includes the next 3 lessons: gratitude, forgiveness, and acceptance.
Yes.
What I would say is that we really do not understand, most of us do not really understand the profound power of those 3 lessons. When you apply gratitude in your life and you live in gratitude, you begin to live in abundance.
Yeah.
When you live in forgiveness, you carry no weight. You're the lightest because you can leave anything behind that does not serve the purpose and your purpose, whatever that is for you. And lastly, acceptance. When we act like water in the river, the water doesn't care about the rocks in its way, just goes around them in whatever speed it wants. And so all that to experience the taking back of the power that you've given to so much and so many, and sometimes still to the past. When you reclaim that, then you go on to the last lesson, which is now that your battery is fully charged again with all that power you've taken back, what do you want to do with it?
What do
And
you want to create?
what do you want to create?
And that's is so important that we put several examples there for people to begin to ignite their imagination. How important is to feel what you really are and what you want to create.
So awareness, gratitude, forgiveness, acceptance, and intention. Those are the 5 lessons of the orchid.
Powerful lessons that for me was, I know, very instrumental in my growth. And they're very, it seems like it's like a big thing that you're dealing with, but it really is actually very simple. And
Yeah.
those things and the words and the actions that we say to heal those things. And I find that for me, forgiveness was one of the most powerful movers for me in letting go of a lot. And also that people don't realize that you don't actually have to go to the person and say, I forgive you. You can just
Yeah.
forgive them in your heart, and
Yeah.
that then kind of ripples out into their heart. It doesn't, you don't, they can be dead. You can still
That's
forgive a
right.
person who's
Yes.
dead.
That's right.
So I just think I think these are very 5 important things that are the tools that a person needs to move through some of these things. And these 5 characters that you have, the 5 women characters in the stories, each encompass sometimes either a side of ourselves, because I found you had 5 characters, but I found a piece of myself in every one of those 5 characters. Some person might just identify with one character and say, that's exactly who I am. I think those were excellent examples. And I think when you do it as a novel, you have a little bit more freedom than if it had one of these how-to factual kind of books where there's so many of them that some people may not be as interested. Where a novel, you can reach out to more people that it might stir up thoughts in them that would be new.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think, I don't know if that's why you did novel or.
Well, yes, Gail, that was important to us. We we learned through our process that there are so many ways to, and so many paths to get to the same place. And we wanted people to see that, frankly, it doesn't even matter what we say in the novel. What matters is when you go through and you see those 5 women going through their paths, what becomes true for you?
Right.
And that is the only thing that matters. And we were trying to repeat that again and again in the book. We don't have the answers for you. This is what the guys would tell them all the time. You have all the answers. We just help you create that place, that container of love for you to feel good about yourself so that you could go and dare go inside and find them, because sometimes it feels a little bit lonely and maybe scary,
Uncomfortable.
It
uncomfortable.
is. Well, that
Uncomfortable.
shows you
But
you're on the right path.
yes, but
There
really,
won't be a bed of roses.
Right.
yes.
So, uh, I'm going to move on to my next question, unless there's anything you wanted to speak about the financial means or anything about financially.
Well, I'll mention something to that, and you hinted to it in the way in which we wrote the story. The orchid is an abundant place. And this comes from the idea that somehow, why do we have to grow in scarcity? Why do we have to grow in anything other than abundance? The universe is completely neutral to us. And somehow we've had for thousands of years this idea that only those who have nothing will enter the kingdom of heaven, right? And so we wanted to make this plays and say, no, they're going to suffer and they're going to be in pain and they're going to go through their growth, but they're going to do it surrounded by incredible abundance, not just economic, because the rooms and the food and the environment, but also nature, of course, which normally that's seen most commonly. But we wanted to make sure that abundance was a part of them, because we believe, and this is now heading a little bit towards somewhat our next evolution, I think, that our next jump is for us to realize that we don't have to experience pain to grow. I believe that we can begin to grow and expand from a place of love during the experience of love. And so we were trying to capture that a little bit in the story.
And then is your ultimate thing then for the book then to turn into the TV show that you decided, so you decided to do the book, and then, because when I saw the trailers that you have on your website, they were very impressive. I watched the 2 different trailers and I said, so maybe they're doing a video or they're doing a TV. I didn't know what. So it's describing the book, but it's really a trailer for the future of making an actual, because nobody reads books these days.
Less
I
and
was born
less.
in the 50s. I like to read books and I like to hold the book in my hand. But now everything's internet, everything's tech. Nobody wants a book. They want to read it on the, or audio or whatever. But a TV show or a video or whatever you want to call that, you can reach all internationally around the world, and it can be translated into many languages. I mean, I
That's
know you'll
right.
have Spanish 1, 2, 3, but that is a way of reaching people that I think is a fabulous. Anyways, I think I think it's a great idea.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, can you talk a little bit about in the Orchid how it centers on modern goddesses navigating trauma, identity, and healing? And what is the impact and feedback you're receiving from your readers about your book? And how is it opening conversations about emotional well-being, feminine power, and leadership? And this isn't part of the question, but I just want to add to the listeners that on their website, they have something called Orchid's Diary, so that the readers can share their experiences and even do a book club as a group. So if you could
Yes.
just throw that in with the answer of my question too.
Yes, yes. Is after traveling a lot, we saw that it's very important for us to develop the feminine energy in the world. Is really necessary to bring this softness. What we bring is forgiveness, acceptance, move on, heal. And we are in that time when if we use these tools, really your experience of life change and becomes really expansive. So I've been seeing a lot of women all over the world who at one point they feel lost. They feel like you know, what else is there for me? Because after 40 is nothing. And all these limiting beliefs, and that's why we try to put it really, really clear about what is a limiting belief. And sometimes media send us those messages that you need to have the correct address, the correct hair, the correct body type, the correct. And that, when we begin to see that, we feel terrible about ourselves and our experience. But if we begin to see that that is an illusion, then we are really empowered and feeling better and feeling about, I don't need to compare to no one. So that has been my experience in self, to see how even though I was really successful, I was not really successful a lot at all, because at one point when you have one, society say you, but you don't have two. And then you have two, and society tells you, but you don't have five. And it's a never ending. And at that point, it's like we need to stop that illusion, really to connect with what is the most important. That is ourselves, our heart, and our present moment right now, what is happening. When you begin to see from this perspective of lack to the perspective of abundance, then all the experience and everything what is happening happens more intense, more soft. So really a goddess is my essence. My essence with that, the illusion that I need to fulfill what society is telling me to do. My essence is my hair white and my accent, and the only thing that I bring to the world that no one else can bring, because no one else is going to be Rocio. And the same with anyone who is listening. When we understand that this game is about to a win-win situation, that if more people feel better about themselves, everyone is going to be winning. So it's about that, how we can bring this information to more people to understand that the illusion of scarcity is an illusion. The most important part is to invest in ourselves, because in the moment that you invest in yourselves, everything else multiplied by whatever is, you don't have a limit. Okay? And I've been experienced that I go more and more, and it's like oh my God, I've been expanding myself. So that is my way to interpret that point. What is for you?
Well, and we played with the title a little bit, the secret code, because it's so in our faces. It's there for the taking. It's right in front of us. Gratitude, forgiveness, and acceptance. The moment you feel good about yourself, you begin to start feeling like a god, like a goddess, because nothing touches you, nothing bothers you. And so the only thing that matters is what is it that you want to do and what is your intention of what you want to accomplish in your life. And to your question, we cry every day. We shed tears on a daily basis from the messages of people who have read the book and are saying, it healed me from a depression. It is now a holy book in my library. It is changing the way I see the world. I'm sick, giving it to every woman in my family. I'm sharing it with my son and my daughter. And it's transcending gender because ultimately the feminine energy is inside all of the men too, right? And so it's helping balance the masculine and the feminine. It really has taken us by surprise. Um, Not because we didn't know, but because we hadn't experienced that before. And when we were writing, we just really did say, if we can change one life, that'll be great. And, since that obviously is now thousands, and it's just a really, really beautiful experience, and it grows on a daily basis.
I have a song for you to add, for you to listen to add to that. It's by a Mongolian heavy metal band named Hu, and it's called Song of Woman.
Mm.
And what it's they have an English speaking woman sing the song. You can find it on YouTube. Uh, when I play that song, it connects me to the power that I feel inside me as a being, and that it honors women, and it's saying in the song that all of the things that we are come from the woman. And it talks about when a man is out, when it's talking about the times of the old when the men were fighting, but the women were the ones that were bearing the sons to do the, I mean, it's just beautiful words of women. And I so whenever I feel that, I listen to that and I feel such strength of being a woman, which I've never really ever felt. I always just sort of felt like a being, never like a man or a woman or an anything. But that song, check it out when you get a chance.
Yes, for sure. Thank you.
I didn't know that I'd have to have, I have so much conversation I want to have with you when I'm supposed to be just only interviewing, but here we go. I have another few more questions here. So, okay, I'm getting on another question here about your vision of the orchid being a basis for retreats, media, and soul-led leadership. So are you thinking of it as also like as a teaching thing for others to teach others? I wasn't sure what you meant. So if you could talk about that, and then after you finish that, I would love for you to tell our listeners where they can buy the book and share your website slowly for the ones who are not on YouTube to see the description or whatever.
Fair enough. Thank you. As we were writing, we realized that the orchid was like a university of love, of self-love. And it occurred to us and we started imagining an amazing campus. And this is where the map comes in, a place where really everyone there is, I'm sure these places exist and have existed around the world, but somehow it became so achievable and reachable for us that you would have, the freshman class, which is what mostly this particular version of the orchid is. But I could imagine that somewhere on the other side of the farm, of the property, there is the advanced class, and they're having different conversations, obviously. And so what we were really trying to paint is the creation of spaces to have these conversations, to ensure that we were opening ourselves to the inquiry. Because, right, as we've heard from so many masters, all you really need to do is really ask the question, and the answers will arrive, because that's the beauty of this world, the amazing world we live in. And so it was really trying to go in that direction and capture that.
And imagine, Gail, a place where all these advanced masters, teachers, healers are in the same place, really put the pieces together of the puzzle. So helping more people to really unlock their full potential in different levels I think that the only thing that's gonna happen is to create what we really can achieve together.
Mhm.
And one thing that would not be apparent to anyone listening, only to people who have read the book, we made an attempt to describe and to bring to the Orchid guides and teachers from all over the world.
I
Because,
love that.
yeah,
Because why not have a Hindu monk show you this meditation? And I mean, and each character, I mean, each teacher that you put there, I was like, oh yeah, that was a great choice. I'm just saying, it just all it was the best retreat combination of beauty, nature, waterfalls and rooms, and then these unbelievable, beautiful teachers. And nobody was pushing anything on the five on the guests there. They were all saying you have to follow your own path, you have to do this your own way. And I love that there was nothing in there saying you have to believe what I say, or I'm the
right.
guru, or I'm the that always turns me off on in any whether it's and so to me this was a really open invitation, a really
That's
good
right.
invitation.
Thank you, Gail. Thank you,
yes,
because really we did a effort, and what we've been searching through our trips around the world is that the answer is not in one place, it's in many places. And that's why it's so important to everyone feel better about themselves and free to explore and to begin to be curious. And that's why we put there the chart, the inner grow, for people to begin to see where they are in this moment.
Yes, and that you had very good examples of the different types of personalities that fit into
right.
that.
Yes.
Did you base any of your, you know, any of the characters, whether it was Mary, the teacher, or any Nicole, one of the attendees, did you base any of them on actual people that you knew or yourselves?
Yeah.
There were a large portion of the characters are based on us and our own personal experiences. So there's a little bit of both of us inside each of them. And then there is pieces of different people in different characters. But really, it was so easy because so many of the experiences that these women experience, we see them again and again. And so it's funny when we speak to someone and said, oh my gosh, I saw my aunt so and my cousin and my mom and my grandma. And so they're so relatable. And I think I would mention one more thing. Nothing in the book is fiction. The only thing that's fiction is the way we've composed it. So, for example, even the rooms exist. We've been in them. It's just, it was a hotel in a particular country, not necessarily tied to a retreat,
Oh,
but tied to an experience. So everything is real. It's just, we put them all together in one place because we saw the magic of the world as being that magic to unlock the beauty that is inside each of us.
that's why you had such great attention to the detail of the decorating and the foods. I got hungry listening to you describe the buffet, you know?
Yes. Yes, it's
Okay, so
delicious.
that, all right. So that would, oh, so well, those room, I want to know where the waterfall one is. That what country did
Yes.
that room come from?
That was in South America,
South
Venezuela.
America. Oh, very, very wonderful.
And going back to your second question, the
Yes.
book is available in English and Spanish right now. We're working on Portuguese at this time, not yet released, electronically, print, and audiobook. And it's available on every major platform, of course, Amazon, Spotify, Apple, in some parts of the world, Kobo, Google Play, and in almost every bookstore you can go, and if they don't have it, you can request it and they will serve it to you. And
And it's super important that you pass the knowledge to more people,
Mhm.
because then you begin to create bridges of
Yeah.
communication and to understand that everyone is doing what they doing, right? So that is like if we have more common knowledge to understand that really we can change right now in this moment, but because what happened 5 seconds ago doesn't matter, is we are giving us the opportunity to do it right now. So I want to say that to pass it to order in the website.
And the website is www.theorchidbook.com. www.theorchid, TheOrchid book.com.
And I have to say it arrives in a very beautiful presentation when you get it through your site. Um, I I feel like I feel like I have to share this because it happened on the end of reading your book.
Mm.
And whatever the synchronicity of that is, I wasn't sure, but I feel like I have to tell this now. And I've not told this. This is something that just happened yesterday. So I finished your book yesterday at, I don't know, 2 or something in the afternoon. And I had my 70th birthday. Even though this show is airing in June, in May, I had my 70th birthday. And I'm not good tech wise, and I didn't notice that I'd had all these birthday messages on Facebook, and I didn't know to access them or whatever. So that's why this is a few days later, yesterday, I come across a message, and it's from a woman who I have never met that's actually my cousin, because my mother gave me away at birth to my father, and I was never told any of this, so it was not information I found out till I was 17. So for close to 50 years, I have known about this half brother and family, and many of their names. I've never seen pictures of them, but I know about them through all the different things that go happen in your life. And it's been one of the last unfinished sort of pains or something or others that we carry. And here I'm reading about all your feel the power of yourself, feel the goodness of yourself. And I think to myself, how much I would have loved to connect with these people, and I'm leaving to go to New York in a couple of days. So I just decide, I look there's a birthday wish from one of them, and I'm so surprised that there's a response. So I think they've been following me on Facebook, and I've been following them. So we've just sort of put our name or said hello, or I've seen pictures of children. And I grew up in a house where I was the only blonde, blue-eyed, pointed-nosed person, and everyone would always say to me, "You don't look like your family." And now I'm seeing a text saying, "Oh my God, you look like our grandmother, who I only met once." But these are the people who lived with my mother. These are the people who could tell me these things I don't know anything about, that have been sort of an unended, because you want to know that part of your life and families. Other people say, "No, I have no interest." But for 50 years, I am talking 50 years, I have left my heart open, that if any of them ever wanted to enter, they would always be welcome. And yesterday I received a happy birthday from a brother I have never seen, I know his name. I was told I would never ever be able to meet him. The family never let him know I existed. And I'm going to meet him on June 8th. And my hair is standing up as I share this story with you, and it's deeply emotional because it's talking about a past pain that I've never closed off to. And when I received the first text from the woman who's, I think she's my second cousin. I'm not even sure. I had to ask her, "Are you this person?" or "Who is this like that. And in my mind, I'm saying to her, when she said, "Everyone wants to meet you, and we're all going to get together, and we'll tell you where we'll meet." And in my heart, I'm saying, I would really love to meet my half brother. I've never met him, and I say to myself, but I won't ask her because my mother, my father, her sisters, everyone in that family said, you will never meet him, you'll never know him, blah, blah, blah. And I had to listen to that for 50 years. And now all of a sudden it just opened up just like that and just got a message saying, Happy birthday. I would love to meet you. And I just
Wow.
can't even tell you how, what, and whether it's a one meeting only or an anything, it's a completion of something I've never let go of.
Yeah.
That to me, I have eight half brothers and sisters and one sister from the same mother and father. She doesn't want to be my sister. The other four I was raised with, I feel like my real brothers and sisters. One died recently, and I got to at least meet her once. So I have these connections to these people that, we came out of the same mother. I'm just saying, I feel so filled inside that we'll be able to have this moment. And if it's only
Amazing.
that moment or it doesn't, it's a completion of a dream of mine
Mm-hmm.
to connect to that. And other people, that was the other part, is that I had to really accept in myself the non-judgment that that's an okay thing to do because other people say, what do you want to open up a can of worms? Why would you want to meet them? What would you want, whatever negative things. And so I really didn't even share this with anyone because I just wanted to be in the joy of knowing that the possibility of something as painful as not knowing family could actually then become a healing moment as well.
Wow.
And all because of them seeing some Facebook messages and knowing it was my birthday.
Amazing.
So I want to thank you because that happened on the same day that I finished your book. And
Wow.
it's hard to not feel like somehow everything was lining up in preparations or whatever on some invisible level. So
Yes.
I get emotional on my shows. My listeners know that. They've seen me cry before, but it's crying tears of great healing joy that to me, it's it's not receiving a diamond ring gift. It's receiving a gift of an open heart love connection. And that means more to me than that means a lot. So I just want to thank you for being people that are promoting the healing of those things and these kinds of situations. And also to know that I have the tools to deal with this. And I have something that I repeated from your book, which was, I have the power to go through this. And
Mm.
I repeated over and over because you gave these words to the ladies to say, and I took those words to my heart for myself to use as well and at this moment. So I want to thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you for sharing such a beautiful story. And what is there to say? The universe is wise in its choice, in its timing, in its connections,
In the miracles.
in the miracles that happen. And we call miracles because we don't realize that they happen all the time, all around us, and we just need to look for them.
And we don't know when they will pop in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just have to be open.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Oh, what a blessing.
really grateful to have shared this story on a podcast. I mean, I did not know I would do this today, but this happened last night and I'm too present with it not to share it with you and
Thank you.
talk about the things about how we can grow. And it just feels to me like anything is possible.
Anything is
Gail,
possible.
that's why we are here right now, because this story, in this precise moment, somebody's gonna listen and it's gonna pop in them inspiration.
Yeah.
And that is the most important part, that they understand that they are not alone and this is real. And if you begin to listen your intuition and begin to really listen what your heart is telling you, nothing can stop us. So thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much. It's a power of love.
The
Yeah.
power of love is limitless.
Yes. So this is the point in our show. We've had our talk, and I've realized I've participated a lot in this show. I I want to know now if there's any words of wisdoms or any other stories or any other things you'd like to share, because we have
Yes.
time and it's really up to you.
You.
Oh, thank you so much. We like to always add at the end of our conversations the following, which is really the dedication in the book itself.
Mhm.
And it says, to all who journey through these pages, may you be inspired to rewrite your own narrative and live a life of love, free of limitations, and enriched by the knowledge that you are powerful beyond belief.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
Thank
as well. Thank you for the space. Thank you for the beautiful conversation. Thank you for sharing yourself with us.
Thank you for sharing yourself and your book with the world. I think you're going to do wonderful things, and I look forward to seeing the video, or whenever that's done, you'll let me know. And I'm going to be in LA in September. Maybe
Let's see
somehow
each other.
we'll get
Yes,
together. I'm coming down
Please.
for a wedding
we'd
in
love
Huntington
that.
Beach. That would be wonderful. And I will send you all the information about your show. And uh, you'll have to send me your address as well, because I want to
Yes.
send you some of my homemade jam.
Ay, yummy.
Yes.
Yes, I
Yes.
live in an orchard. I live in a place filled with food. So I process it
Amazing.
and I dry food and can food and freeze food, and I have apples and nuts and
Oh,
fruits, and I
How
mean
lucky.
it's a very special little spot where food grows. Anything you put in the ground here grows.
oh, how beautiful.
And it's a wonderful spot. All right, so I look forward to our next visit, wherever that is.
Yes.
If
Thank you.
you need any guests on your podcast, you're always welcome to call me.
Yes,
Yes.
we're gonna call you.
We will. We will.
Have a wonderful week, and thank you so much for being there in a very special moment in my life.
Oh,
Oh my God.
we're
Ah,
humbled and grateful. Thank you.
okay, thank you. And adios.
Bye, adios.